Okay, so this is Koheles, and this is going to be very difficult for me to approach because I've taught this like every year since like not every year, but like almost every year consistently since like the last 9 years. And what I want to do is I want to come up with a new approach. I want to try to approach it with fresh eyes. Okay, so the problem though is I feel like my understanding of what Koheles is about is so strong that elements of that are going to creep in. So you're going to be, have you ever learned Koheles at all?
I learned it. Like
Right through with the translation.
Okay, fine, yeah. So I'm going to kind of be depending on you to like deliberately like shake things up and like ask all the basic questions, and like we're going to try to approach this organically. Okay, so let's start with what you suggest. Oh, actually, Isaiah, do you want me to, actually I should do this anyway. I'm going to display the text on the screen because I guess if I'm recording. Yeah, okay. So what we'll do is I think for the first couple sessions, we're only going to really focus on the first 11 psukim. Okay, and you'll see that the first 11 psukim are an introduction, and the reason why you'll see that is because he restarts the book on pasuk 12. Okay, so let's just read and see what happens, and then we'll go to the Pharsha afterwards after we raise questions. Let's just read the 11 psukim. Okay, anyone want to brave the uncharted waters? Yeah, go ahead. Wrong. No. Go ahead. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
So these are the words of Koheles, son of David, king in Jerusalem.
Yeah. Now, how do you? I know Koheles is a name, right? But what's the? How do you translate it?
Gathering.
Yeah, right. So I guess loosely translated, if you have to put it into English, the gatherer. Okay. So the words of the gatherer, son of David, king in Jerusalem. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
All right. Here comes the part which is going to be hard to translate, and which, yeah, go ahead.
Right.
Oh yeah, I got Tanakhs. I mean, if you're going to be tempted, don't open the Tanakh. But like, just in case you wanted to read through the psukim without like bothering, or you got a Tanakh there. Yeah. I'll give you a second to find your way.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, the other advantage of the Tanakh is just glancing at the entire block of text in one.
That's so weird. Was different at the beginning.
I always thought that was a Christian thing, but maybe there's a machlokus about where it should be.
Yeah. No. Okay.
I don't know.
Weird. All right. Hold on. Right. After Eov?
After Eov, yeah.
After Mission.
After Mishlei.
Cool. Okay. Yes. Different Koheles and David for Jerusalem. Havel, Havolin, Koheles, Havel, Havolin, Hakol, So, futility of like futile the futilities.
Okay.
Or I don't know. Says Koheles. The futile futilities, I guess. Everything is futile.
Okay, that's definitely the typical translation. Okay, right. We're gonna have to see what the Mepharshim say in terms of like how to translate Hevel. Do you know what Hevel means literally?
Nothing.
It's like this. That's why I'm doing this, by the way, to demonstrate. That's Hevel. No, it's the vapor of the breath. Yeah. So vapor is the literal translation, and so however we translate Hevel, it's going to be borrowed from the word vapor. Like Hevel pihim. Is like the breath of the mouth, or like Hevel in the pit.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So vapor of vapors.
Vapor of vapors. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to say it. Yeah.
Vapors, yeah. Interesting. Okay. Everything is vapor. My Yisrael Adam before Amor.
Yeah.
Shiyamo Tapas. So what is the gain to man in all his toiling that he toils under the sun?
Okay. Excellent. Good.
Dor Holech Dor Ba, the Haaretz Lo Nemedes. So the generation goes and the generation comes, and the land stands forever.
Yeah.
That's eternal.
It seems like it's the wrong order. Normally you'd say comes and goes.
Yes. Yeah. I know. Did you translate it correctly? But there's a mental hesitation there. Yeah. Good observation.
Okay.
And then just to flesh out the inside, not joke, but I think we were talking this morning about how olam, the word olam or olam in Tanakh Hebrew only means eternal or forever, whereas in rabbinic Hebrew it means world. So yeah.
Okay. V'zarach hashemesh u'ba hashemesh. V'al makomo shoef.
Yep.
Zurechu sham. So the sun, like I guess, travels out, or like, I don't know, shines.
Yeah, shines. So literally shines, but I think in context it would mean rises because you'll see it's contrasted with
Right. It rises and it comes.
Right, which I think is setting.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So the sun rises and the sun sets, and to its place, it goes and rises.
Yeah. So it was shoef.
I don't know.
Like it yearns?
Yeah, yearns. Okay, right. Yeah. So to its place it yearns. Zorechu sham, it shines there or it rises there. Okay. Yeah.
So what place is that?
Wherever the sun goes at night.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. I think it is wherever the sun goes at night. Right.
Isn't Zorach when it does in the day?
Well, that so I think so Zoreach means to shine, right?
Yeah.
So technically it's always shining, but from
see.
our perspective,
Right,
when it
right.
rises,
I see. So
it's shining.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Fine. So holech el darom v'sovev el tzafon, sovev holech haruach v'yas v'vosov shav haruach. So it goes to the south and it circles
Yeah.
to the north.
Yeah.
It circles. It's circling circles
Yeah.
and goes the wind.
Yep.
And on its circling, it returns the wind.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. See, makes perfect sense, right? Yeah. Okay. Go on.
Okay.
Obviously, this is getting very poetic really fast,
Yeah.
but yeah, it'll switch back soon.
Okay. Kol nechalim holchem el hayam v'hayam einenu malech el makom shehanechalim holchem shamhem shavim l'lachas. So all the rivers go to the sea, and the sea is not filled. To the place that the rivers go, there they return to go.
Good.
Okay.
Smooth translations there.
Thanks. Kol advarim yegeim lo yuchal ish l'davar lo sisba ein leros v'lo simole uzen mishmo. So all the words yegeim
Ta'ayaf yagea.
tired.
Yeah. Weary, exhausted, exhausting.
So all the things are weary, that are not able, that a man is not able to speak. No, all the words. Okay, so a man is weary of all the words he can't speak.
I mean, so the way I would translate it, again, I don't know if this is a universal. Kol advarim yigeim, all of the things or the words are wearying. Lo yucha ish ledaber, a man cannot speak or cannot speak of them. I mean, I don't know if it's missing a phrase there.
Okay. And his eye does not promise to see.
So this is from Sava, like Ve'achalta v'Savata.
It's not filled.
Yeah, it was not filled with.
And it's not filled, and his ear is not filled from hearing.
Yeah.
So, of course.
Yes. That's what I was going to say.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
No, it actually does.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Like in a poetic way, obviously.
Yeah.
Like your eye is always craving to see more things. Do you
Okay, I mean, I guess well, the question is, what are we talking about,
Okay,
right?
fine,
Yeah,
right.
right. Yeah, that's why I had a quizzical look when you said it makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. So
Well,
my
if your ear would fill up, then you just won't be able to hear anymore because it would full.
That's true.
Mashahaya hu sheyeh, mashanasa hu sheyeh aseh, ve'in kol chadash tachas shamash. So that which was, it will be, and that which was done, that will be done.
Yep.
And nothing is new under the sun.
Famous line. Yeah.
Yesh davar sheyomar re'ezeh chadash hu kvar haya lo'olamim asher haya lefaneim.
Yeah.
So this thing that they say, look at this, it's new.
Yeah.
So that has already been to the world, to the forever.
Yeah. I guess for
Nothing.
yeah, it's hard if you say olam means eternity, and then you got like multiple eternities,
Right.
So I think it's forever, for ages.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's been forever. That is before us. Okay. So meaning like it's come before.
Yeah.
Ein zikaron lerishonim, v'gam la'achronim sheyu lo yeh lahem zikaron, im sheyu la'achronim. So there is no remembrance to the first ones, and also to the later one, to the second one.
Later ones is fine, I think. Yeah.
the later ones, that there won't be to them a remembrance with the even more later ones.
Yeah. Okay, good. All right, so there's your intro there. Okay, so we're gonna have to break this down and figure out how to approach it. How would you, I guess, just divvy it up? I mean, I feel like when you're reading, you feel like there's sections here, you know, just in this first thing.
First is like the sum. Like, there's like different like thematic.
Oh, sorry. What I meant is like just in terms of blocking. If you had to split this one paragraph into mini paragraphs, where would you divide it there?
This is the first 3, and then maybe the 4th, which is kind of pivots.
Okay.
Then through 7, yeah, and then 8 is definitely a new section.
Mm-hmm.
Then through.
It's in terms of the words, 7 and 8 have a parallel. They both start off kol. This is this.
Yeah, that's a good point. So definitely we could say, okay, pasuk 1 is like a authorial pasuk, right? But then 2 and 3 seem to be like a thing, okay? Like their own like, you know, almost like a thesis statement, you know, like, and then I agree with Isaac's hesitance, not knowing where to classify 4 within that, but yeah, you want me to prejudice your mind here? See, this is an example of a thing I can't get out of my mind. I'll just say it here because it's going to creep up. I don't even know if it's significant. You know something?
I was going to say the vav.
Oh, that's interesting. I did not notice the vav.
I mean, it may implicate, you know, a connection, obviously, to the previous verse.
Yeah. Okay. So, oops. Sorry, I forgot to shut off my WhatsApp.
Matt, I want to say that I'm pretty biased because I've heard Rebbe share on these psukim.
Okay.
Like a good amount. So.
Okay, good. All right, so we're all biased here. Okay, so yeah, what was I going to say? Yeah. That's fine. I mean, you'll be our fresh eyes. So, what do you notice the things that are being talked about, the objects that are being talked about in 4, 5, 6, and 7? If you look at them, and it's a set of 4, yeah.
That be biased or?
Say again?
That be biased or?
Yeah, sure.
The 4 elements?
Yeah, the 4 elements, right? So the earth is 4, and then fire is 5, and then water is 6, and not water 6. Air is 6, and 7 is water. You know. Yeah. So that's what Ibn Ezra says. So in my mind, like that's its own unit, and then we've got like the last couple of psukim, which we're not sure how to do. So I'd say for today, let's focus on the first 3. Okay, try to get some sort of working understanding. And figure out what's what. And I think for the first part, let's start with number 1, right? So what are the questions here, basic questions here? We're not going to dwell on Pasuk Aleph.
Why is he called Koheles?
Yeah, that's the main question here, right? Why is he called Koheles? Because we know his name is Shalom HaMelech, okay?
Who cares that he's Melech?
What was that?
Yerushalayim. Who cares that he's Melech for Yerushalayim?
Right, who cares that he's Melech for Yerushalayim? So basically the question is, why is he called Koheles? And then why is this information provided about him? Right. Yeah.
Also, just the mentioning of Ben David in this context, I'm sure has significance.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
I want to say Yerushalayim instead of like.
Yeah, not all Yerushalayim.
Right.
Right.
All Yisrael.
All Yisrael, right? Yeah. So like Mishlei. Actually, hold on. I want to look at Shir Hashirim also. Shir Hashirim Asher Li Shlomo doesn't mention his Malchus, right? Yeah. And then Mishlei starts with Mishlei Shlomo ben David Melech Yisrael, right? So it is slightly different.
Well, I think if he didn't write Ben David, then you wouldn't know it was him. You'd say Divrei Koheles,
Right.
Who's Koheles?
Yeah. Okay. Good. So let's take a look. What I kind of want to do for the I found the 2 most fruitful Mefarshim in the sense of. Okay. Actually, let me just give a little background here. There are basically 3 categories of Mefarshim and Koheles. There are ones who they might have a consistent understanding of the Sefer, but they don't express their commentary that way. Like they don't overtly try to present like a cohesive thesis on the thing. They'll explain words here, or like they'll give, midrashim. So I tend to not touch those because I don't find them as helpful. Okay. Then you have, so for example, like Rashi, I mean, again, he definitely, I'm sure, had a cohesive idea of Koheles. It just doesn't come through as much in his commentary in my learning of it, you know. Or let's say like certain minimalist commentaries, like this one has like a. Do I bring my commentary here? Just make sure I'm saying this right. What was that? Toldos Aaron, yeah. The Rid, Yeshaya Mitrani.
Very minimalist.
He just gives like little tidbits, and I just don't have enough to feel like I don't have enough to work with, you know. Okay, then you've got people like the Rabag and the Sforno, and I just looked the Ibn Kaspi, who's not in here. They have such a complete system of Koheles worked out that they learn it like a step-by-step philosophical argument. You know, like it's in order, and you have to, each step is dependent on the previous step. That seems really valuable, but it also seems really intimidating, and it also seems a little spoon-feedy for my taste in learning. Like, sometime I would like to learn that, but I feel like that's not learning Koheles. For like, I want to form my own understanding, and ideally, and like, I feel like that'd be learning like Rebbe Zimmer and I joke sometimes that like, I view Rashi as a commentary on Chumash, and he views Chumash as a commentary on Rashi. like he'll learn Rashi like as its own thing, you know. And I feel like with that, like Rabag, if you want to learn through Rabag on Koheles, you'll get your own philosophical treatise. But I kind of want my learning to be anchored in the text itself. Okay. So then there's this sweet spot in middle Mefarshim. Okay. So of those, Metzudas David and Ibn Ezra jump out to me as they've been the most useful to me. The problem with the Ibn Ezra is there's a lot of grammar stuff thrown in, and I'm not a bald dikduk. So when he's making all these grammar points, I'm not confident in my own ability to catch what he's saying. So I've kind of defaulted to the Metzudas David. Okay. Another advantage of Metzudas David is he comments on every pasuk, and he comments in smooth flowing Hebrew. What do you know about him in terms of just the basics, who he is or what his commentary is? Anyone know? Yeah. Yeah, so he's, anyone know? So it's actually two people. It's a father-son duo. I think the father started the commentary, and then he like died before he completed it, and the son completed it. And they're very late. It's in the 18th century. Okay, and he wrote it on most of Nach, not every Sefer, and there's two parts of it. There's Metzudas ציון, which is a glossary where he just defines the words that are difficult, and then there's Metzudas David, which is the commentary where he explains the pasuk. So the setup is very nice. So what I kind of want to do for our game plan, let's have our home base be the Metzudas commentary, and then if there's a question that we don't feel like they're answering satisfactorily, we'll branch outwards, bearing in mind that like other people could have their whole own approach to the Sefer that it might be dependent on that, you know? Cool. Okay, so let's start off with that, and then we'll see where we go from there. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so let's start off Metzudas ציון, right? On the left, on the bottom, or at least on the ones I gave you guys. Oh, you want to read still?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Okay, Koheles. Hu inyan kovetz asifa. This is an idea of like collecting and gathering.
Yeah.
Kamo Koheles Yaakov, like
Kihilas Yaakov, probably. Yeah.
Sorry. Kihilas Yaakov. V'hamelech Shlomo hayanikor kain al shehikila hadeos minagdos tzarach l'tziruf u'lelavan hatzodek. Yeah, these are weird words, right? So I think it's ad shehikil hadeos hamanagdos litzaref ulalabin hatzudak mihabilti tzudak. So he's called this because of his gathering of ideas.
Yeah, good.
And
what are deos minagdos?
Opposing.
Yeah, opposing ideas.
Opposing. Okay. To like connect them and to clarify.
Right. So I think here litzaref is like a matzref, like a crucible to refine them. Okay, to refine them, or like and refining in the sense of a crucible of like purging the dross from the silver, you know.
Yeah. Right, and to whiten them.
Yeah. When you're talking about ideas, what would a tzudak idea be?
Like correct.
Correct ideas, yeah.
Like the correct from the not correct.
Okay. So first of all, is he answering any of our questions?
Yes, sort of.
Yeah. Right. So he's saying who is Koheles, and he's saying it's Shlomo.
Right.
And What else is he answering?
Oh, and why did you use that word?
Why is he called Koheles?
Yeah. Oh, because he gathers ideas.
Because he gathers ideas, right? Okay, and he's filtering them, right? Okay.
Isn't that what, like, why specifically by in this book?
Right. That's the next question.
Okay, good. Right. So before we get to that, because I think that's going to be answered by what he says the thesis is here, okay, is this is another big warning label on Sefer Koheles, which is not true of most other Sfarim of Nach, is what can you expect to find in the Sefer, given what he just said here?
Contradictions.
Yeah, which means
Contradictions.
not just contradictions, that is true.
Bad
What-
ideas.
Yeah, say it. What does it say, Isaiah?
Bad ideas.
Yeah, you're going to find false ideas in the Sefer. Okay, so this is one of the only other Sefer I know of that deliberately does this is Eov. But in Eov, you know which ideas are false because they're being stated by like Eov, who's like holding a bad idea, or like by his friends. Yeah.
It seems like he's saying that Koheles meaning Shlomo, is filtering out the bad ideas from the good. Not that he's putting them both in and you have to filter it out.
Okay, so that you could read it that way. It will not play out. Spoiler alert. You could read it that way. But I would argue that even if this is all we read, like even if hypothetically you're Isaac Lichter and you're learning this for the first time, right? Then he's saying that okay, I'll buy your argument, right? In other words, I was going to say that his point is that Shlomo is functioning in the capacity of Koheles when he's the author of this book. I mean, he's writing this book as the filterer. So if the book itself
Is the filter.
right. I mean, so that's how I'm learning it, right? That
Yeah,
the book itself
yeah,
is the filter. You're learning it that the book is the product of someone who filters stuff.
Right.
Right? Yeah. And you could learn it that way. I'm just telling you it's not going to play out. And I'll tell you, let me just mute this here. Hold on. Yeah, so this is something that made Koheles controversial, right? You said there are contradictions, okay? Chazal warn that, in fact, I have this midrash here.
Did they almost not even put it in?
Yes, yeah, that's why I'm trying to find the midrash. I actually forgot to include it in the in the packet here.
They want to be Gones.
Yeah, they want to be Gonezet, right? So yeah, so that's Rabbi Chait has a bunch of shirim on that. Bikshu Chachamim lignos Sefer Koheles, that the Chachamim wanted to. How do you translate lignos?
Highway.
Yeah, hide it away, right? So like, I think on the shir he's translated it, or he explains it as they wanted to take it out of circulation, meaning that they didn't want it to be a part of Kisvei HaKodesh of of Tanakh. So let me just.
Nuts.
Yeah.
To be fair, they wanted to do that to like every book in Tanakh.
So I think they wanted to do it to 3 books in Tanakh. They wanted to do it to Koheles, Mishlei, and Yechezkel.
Oh yeah.
Weird thing, yeah.
I think Yirmiyahu also, but
Yirmiyahu also?
I thought so. But
Yeah.
maybe.
So let me read you the thing. Hold
You
on.
wanted it initially?
They want to do it with the Mishlei. So the Mishlei one's weird, okay?
Yeah, why?
So the reason for Mishlei that's given is mipnei shedavar sosrim zeh because its words contradict each other, and then it gives an example of a contradiction. It says anek sil kivalto pen yihye chacham beinav. You should answer a fool according to his foolishness, lest he be a chacham in his eyes. And then al tan sil kivalto pen tishve lo gam ata. Don't answer a fool according to his foolishness, lest you be considered like him. So first of all, those are 2 psukim that are right next to each other that contradict each other. Great, but like most of Mishlei doesn't do that, So it's just like a weird taina. And then Yechezkel, I don't know why they wanted to. What? Yeah, seemingly contradicts the Torah in terms of the I believe the architecture of the Beis Mikdash. That Yechezkel's vision of the third of Bais Shlishi contradicts certain halachos in that we have in Chumash, So yeah, and then so Koheles, there's 2 versions of the midrash, and I believe.
That's not gonna say. What? Someone like learned that contradiction. Oh, yeah, it's exactly. Okay.
Okay, so sorry.
But it seems like it's
Right, that's good.
So sorry, I'm not showing this to you here. So it's in Talmud Bavli, Masechet Shabbos, Daf Lamed Amud Beis. So this is the version I think Rabbi Chait gave shir on. I don't know if he mentions the other one on this. Amar Rav Yehuda Berei de Rav Shmuel Bar Shilas Mishmei de Rav Bikshu Chachamim lignos Sefer Koheles mipnei shedvar sosrim mizeh. So it starts off the way you said, that they want to take it out of circulation because its words contradict each other. Okay, umipnei ma lo ginzuhu. Why didn't they put in Geniza?
The last line.
And The last line and the
First.
first line, okay? Mipnei shetchilaso divrei Torah v'sofo divrei Torah, right? Because it begins with divrei Torah and ends with divrei Torah, and it gives the examples. It says tchilaso divrei Torah dichsiv ma yisron ladam b'chol amalo sheyamol tachas hashemesh. What gain is there for man and everything he toils under the sun? So what does that imply?
Over the sun.
Over the sun is good, right? Under the sun, there is no gain, but above the sun, there is. Now, I don't know any person, any Christian, or like, non-person who has not read the Talmud, the Talmud, who has like read that and said, oh yeah, clearly it means above the sun. It's just like, it's a stretch. Sofa Divrei Torah makes a lot more sense, right? What's it's not literally the last pasuk. Sof Devar Kol Nishma Es Halukimi Rav Es Mitzvosav Shemor Kizeh Kol Ha'adam. Right? The sum of the matter when everything has been considered is fear God and keep His mitzvos, because that's the entirety of man. Right?
It's both the second to last pasuk. So,
yeah.
That's the second to last, and this is the second pasuk.
Oh, that's also true. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So what's? I mean, we're
oh wait, no, it sounds like
we might go. Which is the third?
Yeah.
Oh, the third. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. The intro is Divrei Torah, and the outro is Divrei Torah. But what was I going to say? We might think about this and learn it, but like, what's the problem with this Gemara?
Why should the rest of it be worthy to keep?
Yeah, right. Is that fine? So you got two psukim that are like clearly about Torah, but what about the whole middle part? And the middle part says stuff that is that really. This is why I was saying this goes. It's not going to play out. The middle part has lots of statements that are very controversial. Okay, show you an example. Yeah.
When you said that,
Yeah. Do you? Yeah. Yes, I was actually gonna. Right. So.
Chacham has like eyes in his head, and the fool walks in darkness.
Right.
So I know that one fate awaits them all.
Yeah, and it gets worse though.
That's true.
Right, that part's true, right? But what about this? Hold on. This is in chapter 3, pasuk. If you want to look. 3:18. Okay. Amarti ni belibi al divras b'nei ha'adam levaram ha'elokim. So I said in my heart about the matters of mankind, levaram ha'elokim, that God has selected them, v'liros shehem behema hemalahem, to see that they are basically all animals. Okay. Kim mikra b'nei ha'adam umikra ha'behema umikra echad lahem. The fate of man and the fate of animals, it's one fate. K'mozeh k'mozeh. One dies, the other one dies. V'ruach echad lakol. They all have the same spirit. And the superiority of man over the animal is nothing, because everything is futile.
Right.
Okay, right?
We say it every morning.
Yeah, we say it every morning. Yeah, right. So I guess they didn't want to ban that part either. Yeah, it's like that's a very problematic statement, and you're going to find lots of these statements in the middle of the Sefer. This next midrash gives an even greater reason why they would ban it. So he says, this is in Vayikra Rabbah, of all places. Amar of Shmuel bar Yitzchak, Bikshu Liknus Sefer Koheles, Shematsu bo Devarim Shehem Notim Litzad Minus. They found things in it that incline towards heresy. Okay? Incline. And then he gives examples. Moshe Amar Velosa Suru Achrei Levavichem Achrei Nechem. Moshe says, don't stray after your heart and after your eyes. Ushlomo Amar V'halich B'darach Li Bacha Uv'Lamare Einecha. Go after your heart and your eyes. Okay? Ella, and then it goes even further. Ella hutra haritzua. The strap has been unbound. Okay, not talking about tefillin straps, but you've unleashed the beast. Less din, less dayan. There's no judge and there's no judgment. Right? Meaning a person's going to conclude, Shlomo's saying you can do whatever you want. Okay, but then it says, but since it says at the end that you should know that God's going to bring you to justice for all these things, Amru Yafa Amar Shlomo. Then they said, Shlomo said good. Okay, yeah. So these are very troubling midrashim in the sense that it either brings up it brings up a legitimate problem, but then the solution doesn't really seem to solve it. The guy who wants to go after his heart is going to read all the way to the end and say, God's going to judge me now,
Right.
I don't know the context necessarily of these quote problematic psukim.
Yeah.
It often could be that you can pull anything out of context
Right.
and make it seem bad. I'm sure there's psukim in the Torah that if you take them out of context, they look bad.
Yeah.
But it's only in the complete picture of something that you get an accurate viewing.
Right.
So the answer, in a certain sense, it is helpful because, I mean, granted, you end up with two things that contradict. So how do you know to choose the good one? But the point being that within the full picture, it's good.
Yeah.
Meaning it's just there to contrast with the negative.
Right. Okay. So that is a general answer that we can give here, which is the fact that he introduces these foreign ideas, but then in the conclusion, according to both midrashim, in the conclusion he comes back to the framework of Torah, shows that Torah is the framework, and what you're saying is you have to interpret the particulars within the overall framework.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a good answer. Yeah.
So my new theory
Yeah.
slash understanding of the Tzimtzum, which might be what you're saying.
Yeah.
Is that he's like gathering these different ideas and I'd say he's filtering them and arranging them in a way that he's not just like presenting the finished product, but he's helping you develop to like be able to do this for yourself.
Right. He's being your Brita, or he's giving you Brita capacities, right? Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. That's a theory, right? That we can explore that. I mean, I think that's going to depend on how much we view the psukim inside as him making arguments, like step-by-step arguments, or how much he's just kind of like telling you the things he thought about and then presenting his conclusion. We'll have to see through that. I was just going to mention you mentioned that you could take anything out of context. You want to know the best example of that the Rambam uses? This is a side point, as he says the Christians bring a proof for the Trinity from Shema.
Right.
Because it says Shema Yisrael, Hashem, Elokeinu, Hashem, 3, Echad, or 1, right? So he says, he doesn't say it in this exact word, but his point is, even God can't prevent his own book from being distorted, because the one pasuk that he included to teach you Yichud Hashem, the only pasuk in all of Tanakh that explicitly or in all of Chumash at least, that teaches you Yichud Hashem, the Christians can take it and make it the opposite, So, yeah, you can take anything out of context. Yeah.
Also, I mean, it seems like the fact that at the end he kind of has a good quote, that kind of shows that the whole book is kind of Havamina Maskanos of right. Not necessarily this is all of this is what I believe. It's just this is what like what you were saying before. I guess this is what I thought, and then
right. Yeah. Shlomo ended up where he started in that sense, or at least with the same framework. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So let's now go to the Metzudas David, right, and see what he adds. Anyone else want to read? You want to read?
I don't care.
You're on a roll. Keep going.
Yeah.
Sefer Koheles. ידוע שהחקירה המעולה לא תשתלם אלא בשלוש הפנים גם יחד. So know that, or
it is known.
It is known that the analysis, the good analysis, is not finished.
Yeah, finished is good.
Okay.
Completed.
Rather, three faces are also together.
Yeah. So to decode it in a good literal translation, right, is a complete analysis. Analysis can only be perfected or completed through three facets. I would say facets instead of faces, just because Yeah. Okay. So there's gonna be three things that you need for any complete investigation.
Okay.
Gam yachad, together in concert with each other. Yeah.
האחס מחס העניין כשתהי מקבוצס דאוס מחולפוס להסבונן וזה לאומס זה להבחין איזה ישר.
Yeah.
So the first one is from Mapas something.
Yeah, from mipas is via, I guess, or from or through.
Through the topic, I guess.
So iyun.
Through analysis.
Analysis, yeah.
When you've gathered the ideas.
Yeah, and here Deus Mechulafos is kind of like Deus Menagdos here.
Right. What was it? contradictory.
Yeah, opposing.
Opposing. It,
Yeah.
Right?
Mukhalav is literally the opposite, right? But
Right. Okay. To understand in them the umes
zel umazeh, to like contemplate this one in contrast to that one.
I see. L'havchin ezu yeshar, and to understand which is correct.
Yeah. Okay. So step one in your analysis. I mean, I don't know if this is in order, but his first step is take opposing views and pit them against each other in order to analyze which one is correct. Okay.
Right.
Step two.
Okay. Hashinis mapas hakabal me'adam rashum b'chachma biros.
Uveyira.
Sorry.
Yeah, okay.
So and the second is through the Masorah, I guess.
Yeah.
From a person that is
Distinguished
in Chachma and in Yira.
Yeah. Okay. So this is what we would call relying on the experts, right? I mean, when he says Kabbalah, I don't think he specifically means like Masorah, because he's talking about in all knowledge, not just in halakha.
Okay.
So you basically you trust expert opinion based on their knowledge and their character. Yeah.
Okay. So one is like firsthand, like
One is firsthand, and this is secondhand. Yeah. Good way to put it. Yeah.
Vagula biyoser im hamuser hakabala yim serena
Libano. Yeah.
Lefi she ha'av rotzehu bitkanas beno v'yim serena ba'ayin yafa mido ahanas. Yeah, and the very great, very like good.
Yeah, the best.
Is if the Masorah of the giver, the person who gives over the Kabbalah,
Yeah.
is giving it over to his son.
Yeah.
Because the father wants to help his son or fix his son.
Yeah.
And giving it over and give over to him like a good eye. Like,
Yeah, I think Ayniaf is like a idiom for. Yeah, generous, right? So he gives it over in a generous way.
Okay. And to make him and to stand on the truth.
Yeah, he sets him up on the truth. This is where the Metzudas David kind of tips his hand. You see where he's going with this?
No.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, that would.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
I was thinking that.
Yeah, okay. And then we got the one last part here. It's gonna be at the bottom of the page.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, I'm going to translate this one because this is really difficult, right? So mipas hamivchan v'hanisayon mihadvarim hamishavim. So this is through mivchan is testing, and nisayon experimentation from the I would say like the experienced phenomena. I guess I don't know exactly what he means by mishavim. V'koshkin im yishavu hadvarim b'makom marbis chachamim. All the more so if these things happen in a place of a gathering of chachamim, hamaskilim, who are intelligent, lisbonin amitas ha'inyan kfi machhu, to contemplate the thing as it really is. Okay, so just to summarize here, you got three things that you need to make your analysis complete. There's pitting opposite ideas against each other to test them out and figure out which one's correct. Second is relying on expert testimony, and it's even going to be better if you're relying on your father, who not only I guess a father who is wise and having good midos, but he also wants to give you all the best information. And three is experience and testing and observation. Okay, I'm including all of that in there. And he says this is best if it's done in a place of chachamim who can understand things as they really are, as opposed to, let's say, like lay people who will see something and then draw the wrong conclusion.
So what's the difference between the first and the third?
First is more, I think the first is just in philosophy or just with your mind of just thinking about the ideas themselves. And the third is based on empirical observations. Empirical is the word I was looking for before, not experiential. Yeah. Okay. So where's he gonna go with this? I'm gonna read this because this is also a little weird here. Okay. So he says, "Lachein amar hamatik b'psichos hasefer." Therefore, the copyist says in the beginning of the book. I should have mentioned this earlier, by the way. When I mentioned that the first 11 psukim are their own thing, some of us may actually hold that that Shlomo didn't write it. Like the Rashbam, I think. I don't know if he says it here. Let me just quickly look here. I don't want to misquote the Rashbam. The Rashbam in
Rashbam?
No, maybe it's not the Rashbam. Oh, wait.
Did you send a link to your Zoom channel?
Did I send out a link? I sent it out to the people who signed up for it.
All right.
Boom! Yeah. Anyway,
Okay, exactly.
yeah. What was I gonna say?
It's a great mustard.
Someone says, other people say that the first 11 psukim were written by someone else, and then Shlomo's book actually began with pasuk 12. Okay, so it looks like the Metzudas David is of that opinion because he says it's the Ma'atik, the people who like copied. Yeah.
Does he hold that it's that the copyist is Koheles ben David, or just that
Or
oh
just,
no, never mind, doesn't make sense.
Yeah. You're right. It doesn't make sense. Yeah.
wait, so hold on. Why does it say like Amor Koheles in the second pasuk? Or is he just like paraphrasing?
He's paraphrasing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He's telling us what Koheles is going to say.
Okay.
Yeah. The other way to learn it, by the way, is that it's a very common stylistic thing for authors in their intros to speak in the third person. So that's how you would learn it if you wanted to learn this as Shlomo. All right. So now let's see how he plugs in his theory. Amar Matik b'Sichos Sefer Divrei Koheles Rotz Lomar Hadvarim Ha'ela Nechkru Al Yidei Kibbutz Kabutzas Deos Mechulafos. So, meaning to say, what does it mean Divrei Koheles? It means that these things, these words, were investigated, or these matters were investigated by a gathering of opposing opinions. But Seruf HaKabbalah, here it means Seruf, right? And joined with tradition, or with received information from a person who was distinguished in his wisdom and fear. V'hu David HaMelech. V'amakabel hayabeno, and the recipient was his son, Asher Yanak Shedei HaEmes, who nursed from the breasts of truth. I think that's a metaphor. Uvitseruf hamivchan mehadavarim. I think it means that he was raised, from a very young age with chachma, with emes. But uvitseruf hamivchan mehadavarim hamishavim b'Yushalayim ir malchuso, in combination with testing matters that empirical matters that occurred in Yerushalayim, the city of his kingship. Asher anasheha chachmei levav, whose inhabitants were wise of heart. I gotta go to the next page. Hold on.
So that's why it says Yerushalayim.
Yerushalayim, exactly right. Hamaskilim amitas einin, who can comprehend the truth of the matter. V'nei kol davar lo nichacha min hamelech hamolech ba. Nothing is hidden from the eyes from the king who rules over it. Meaning he has access to everything that goes on in his kingdom. Umar bios kain. And by saying all these things, you can tell that these matters have been investigated in the best way possible, that there's none higher.
Cool.
Yeah, okay. So very comprehensive. So it answers all of our questions, right? Is why is he called Koheles? What does Koheles mean? Why is he called Koheles? And why is mentioned all the other information, right? So why do you think for a book like this, it's necessary to mention these qualifications here?
Well, yeah, knowing that your author is legitimate is that much more important when the ideas are controversial.
Exactly.
Can be taken the wrong way.
Exactly, right? Is that we're going to be wading into some controversial, weighty stuff. And if, like, for example, I'll just give another example of this here. In Koheles 2:1, I should have kept this bookmark here. Koheles 2:1. I'm just laughing because it's going to be funny. Amarti ani belibi. I said to myself, "L'cha na anascha v'simcha u're'eva tov," which many people mean say, "I'm going to go get drunk," right? V'hinei gamu havel, and it was also havel, right? So, and this is in the context of him trying to figure out whether life is worthwhile or not. So if some guy comes up to you and he says, "Yeah, I tried the partying lifestyle, and it just didn't work out for me," that's very different than a Shlomo HaMelech who is a chacham himself, testing this as a part of a rigorous experiment, getting it from David, and consulting people in Yerushalayim, Right. So it's like you said, here more than any place you really need the qualifications. Yeah. Okay. So let's start. Any other questions or observations on this first pasuk?
Are we? Not on the first pasuk, just in general. Are we? I guess assuming that he is actually doing it like that, as a strict
We're gonna have to take up that question. Yeah. I don't know yet. Yeah.
So for the third type of thing in terms of experimentation, I guess that, well, it's actually about like, going to ask like what type of thing is that like? Is it like he's, let's say, testing? In order to say that you're having empirical observation, then it needs to be happening in practice. So, like, what does that mean for some of these? What does it mean, let's say, to empirically observe about, let's say, generations going and coming, or like, you know, like a lot of things seem like they don't. It seems like most of this does not lend itself to empirical observation.
So I guess that's something we're gonna have to keep our eyes out for as we read. But I'd say on the surface, he is making he's relying on a lot of common experience of watching people doing certain things or living certain lifestyles and then seeing what happens to them, you know? So I think that's the type of thing that he's talking about. Yeah. Okay, so let's start our analysis of the second pasuk. Okay, we're definitely not going to finish it this time, but let's see. Hold on, I just got to find. This is a little frustrating here on the screen. Is there a Metzudas ציון on this, or just Metzudas David? Yeah. Okay, so just to read the pasuk again, Havel Havalim Amar Koheles Havel Havalim Hakol Havel. So. We don't know how to read it yet. Okay, so we're gonna have to do the Metzudas. Okay, so Metzudas says like this. Let me go down to the bottom. Sorry, it's taking a while to scroll. Metzudas, Hevel, Inyano Davarsh in bo mamash, right? Literally means, what would you translate? Inyano Davarsh in bo mamash.
Matter of something that has no substance.
Yeah, it's something that has no substance, right? So it's a thing. It's a davar which has no substance, a substanceless thing. V'hu mushal milashon hevel peh, and it is derived or borrowed from the expression hevel peh, the breath of the mouth or the vapor of the mouth. Hamuska b'divrei chazal. V'chein v'yelchu achrei hevel. Also, it says in Malachim Beis they went after hevel. They went after nothingness. I would say. Okay, so right now he would translate it hevel as, and I think nothingness is a good word because nothingness is you're saying it's nothing, but you're treating it as a thing. You know, so it's something that is nothing, but you're treating it as a thing. So without reading Metzudas David, how would you translate Havel Havalim?
Like really nothing.
Okay, really nothing, right? So one approach that the Mefarshim take is like Shir Hashirim, or like Melech Malachim or Eved Avadim, which is what you're saying. Shir Hashirim is like the ultimate song, King of Kings, Slave of Slaves.
Right.
So it's like a superlative, like, you know, excess. So nothing, like absolute nothingness. Said Koheles, absolute nothingness, everything is nothing. Okay? Right. But check out what the Metzudas David does, okay? Hava Havalim Amar Koheles, wrote to Lomar, Bazeh Sefer Amar Koheles Livnei Adam. So in this book, the Koheles said to people, V'his hiram, and he warned them, or he admonished them, Lehahavil ulahamis es hahavalim. How do you translate that? Yeah. So yeah, what do you say, Yaakov? To treat as nothing, I think is a good translation. So to treat as nothing, ulahamis, and to despise, to despise the havalim, the nothingnnesses. So how's he reading? Havel havalim. How's he reading it?
Havel is a verb.
It's a what kind of verb? A tzivoi, right? So it's a commandment. So not it is hevel of hevels, but Havel Havalim, right? You should treat as Hevel the Hevels, which means he's speaking to people who are inclined to treat the Hevels as somethings, right? Yeah, okay, so that's a radical reading of the opening line of Koheles, is treat as nothing the nothingness.
But how does he deal with Hakol Hevel?
Let's see. V'chozer u'mafarish amar of Amor, and he goes and elaborates on his words, and he says, Havel es hahavalim ma shehakol havel. Okay, I gotta read the whole sentence. You should hevelize, you should treat as nothing the nothings that are entirely hevel. Asher b'shum ofen lo yitzmach mehem tachlis ra'ui ve'yakar. That in no way will they sprout forth an outcome which is worthy and precious. And then in parentheses here, aval ha'havalim ha'masabavim ba'achrona tachlis ha'mo'il, but the nothingnesses which bring about in their end a beneficial outcome, it is not proper to hevelize them and to despise them, because you can find something in them that is good.
But they're really nothing.
They are nothing, but there's two types of nothings, right? Let's just summarize, and I'll take your question or comment. He's saying like this. So havalim, treat nothingnesses as nothing, said Koheles. Havalim, and he adds a word here. That's the only thing that's like weak about his interpretation. Ma shehakol havel. You should treat as nothing only those things which are entirely hevel. And the implication is, but the things that are not entirely hevel, even though they're nothing, you shouldn't treat them as nothing.
Right.
What do you say, Yaakov?
Yeah.
So throughout the book, when he's saying this is hevel, left and right,
Yeah.
does he mean hevel or just hevel?
Good question. So that's going to be a question that his framework here. In other words, this duality of hevels is going to have to guide the way we read those things, right?
Right. That
Yeah.
makes a big difference.
Big difference. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So just because you find something that's nothing doesn't mean it's nothing, right? It could be nothing that has a good thing that comes from it, or it could be nothing that is truly nothing. Yeah, Isaac?
So why doesn't he say just havel havalim shehakol havel?
So I can't answer that question, and I'll tell you, I can't answer that categorical question, which is, maybe this is more of me than Koheles. Because this is a poetic book, I never know what types of, like if the Rambam said something like that in the Mishnah Torah, you'd be medactic in a certain way. I'm kind of relying on just what the Metzudas David says and like analyzing up to a point where like this is a plausible interpretation or this is not plausible. But like the question of why didn't he say it in another way doesn't bother me as much, just because like I'm not sure like if there are other considerations. Is that what you were asking? Of like why didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. In terms of that type of thing, do you also think about whether it's like a plausible poeticism?
I don't, because I don't feel capable. Yeah. Like for example, is this relevant? Hold on just a second. Okay, I'll mention it anyway in case it's relevant. This is about Mishlei, okay, but it might apply to Koheles. So he spoke in Proverbs, and there are a lot of these like elements of the Proverbs that the phrasing is dictated by the like kind of like Shakespeare, right? It's like with Shakespeare, then he had certain poetic strictures which were forcing him to use words in certain ways, and other things he did for aesthetic reasons. And same thing with Shlomo, and other things he did for like to make things memorable. And Koheles, even though it's called Koheles, it's part of his set of proverbs. Like he said these things as proverbs, So I just don't know if like considerations like that entered into the picture. Yeah.
Question?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know if we addressed this already, but do we have like a working definite thing that we mean by nothing? Like
no, that's a good question, right? Because it's not literally nothing, right?
Everything is a thing.
Everything is a thing, right? Even nothing is a thing, right? Yeah. So let's just list our questions here, right? We have what exactly does he mean when he calls things nothings? And then by what criteria do we distinguish between nothings which are entirely nothing and nothings which yield something worthy? What are the criteria for deeming something worthy? Like in what framework? Ra'ui v'yakar, can't get more vague than that, And then like Yaakov said, how do we differentiate between the types of things he's going to talk about? Is he going to tell us how to identify which is which? Like, and when he says that something is hevel, but he doesn't call it like, I'm not aware of him ever using the term hakol hevel, like in the text of itself, he just calls stuff hevel. So like, is it up to us? How do we measure this? And on what basis is he saying this? That's the other thing. Like, and what's his point? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. This is probably a good place to stop for today, though. Okay. So let's, if you want to, and you're running a risk if you do this, read through an English translation in its entirety. If you've never done that before, it's an experience. Okay. Be aware though that terms like this, then Art Scroll or whatever you use is going to commit to. Actually, what I can do, my translation that I used to use in high school, I just substituted all the buzzwords with the Hebrew, so that you can read it and preserve the ambiguity of the Hebrew.
Nice.
I don't know if I did for every one of them, but I can send that out. And if you read it, if you can read it in one sitting, and just like let it hit you and see what happens.
Is it all close?
All close. Yeah, it's not super long, but it's also not super short.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, okay, so that'll be good for now, and then we'll have to pick up where we pick up next time.
Cool.
All righty.